Hey there, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you'll join me in my love of crafting and DIYs and hit that subscribe button. Today's video is part of the Room by Room challenge hosted every month by the lovely Devin at Freckled Mom DIY. And this month's theme is home decor inspired by nature. Devin's channel as well as the playlist will be linked in my description box. DIY number 1. For this project, you will need a corrugated metal pumpkin, small wooden crate, fake pumpkins, leaves, floral foam, floral wire, skewers or dowels, spray paint, antique wax, white paint, napkin and Mod Podge, hot glue gun, brush, and then a baby wipe. So I had these stakes from the Dollar Tree and I'd already taken off whatever was on the front. I don't even remember what it was. It was a plaque of some sort. And then I pulled the stake off and scraped off the hot glue the best that I could on the back. And then I gave them a coat front and back of this metallic spray paint. And I did just need to do one coat on these. It's got pretty good coverage, especially on this metal. So here I am doing the front. So I did the back first, and then once it had dried a little, I flipped it over and did the front. And you'll see that I'm doing 2 of them. I end up only using 1 for this project. And then I had this napkin that I got from the napkin exchange. You'll have to go back and see what I did with the others that I got. That video is live. And then I fussy cut this napkin, and it was tedious and took a really long time, but I feel like it was really worth it. And then I decided where I wanted it and started there and laid that area down. And then I went really slow with this, just a little bit of Mod Podge, and then I would smooth out the napkin, a little bit of Mod Podge, the same process all the way across. And then once that had dried, I do a nice thick coat over everything, including the area that doesn't have a napkin, just so that it's all the same texture. And then I take my crate and with a baby wipe, I apply some antique wax. And then once everything had dried, I did take some white acrylic paint and dry brush around the edges of the pumpkin, just a smidge, just to make it stick out just a little bit. And then I took some hot glue and glued it to the front of the crate. I added some floral foam inside the crate. So I took some skewers and I wanted to darken them. I tried antique wax, but it just wasn't sticking. So I ended up using some acrylic paint and I just wiped it on with a baby wipe. And then I took this leaf garland and I sort of made a crazy 8 here and just kind of looped it through the skewer so that it would hold. And then I looped it around and tucked it under in no special way, just till I liked the way it looked wrapped around the skewer. And then I placed it in the foam. And I ended up doing 2 of those. And then I have this pumpkin pick in there that I had gotten from the Dollar Tree. I wish I would have picked up more. I thought I had more pumpkin stuff at home in my stash, but I didn't. So I end up making a couple. So with the rest of the skewers, or a couple more of the skewers, I just poke them in the bottom of these little foam pumpkins. And I had 2 of this white one. And then it just needed something on that left side. So I used this teeny tiny little pumpkin. And that is it for this project. You'll see it at the end. DIY number 2. For this one, you'll need wood slices. We end up cutting our own dried florals. I picked these up on Amazon days. I want to try some resin stuff, but I haven't gotten to it. Mod Podge and then a brush to apply the Mod Podge. This is my Christmas tree. I have kept it all this time, and I finally went out and limbed it and sliced it. So my slices from the Christmas tree ended up being too small for coasters. So my husband picked me up a larger one that he then sawed me a couple slices from. That tiny chainsaw, these are really rustic and rough cut and just perfect. So I took some florals that I had gotten from Amazon and I gave these just a very, very light sanding. There was just a couple pieces that were still kind of stuck from the saw blade that I just got off of there. And then I took and just added just a few of these dried florals, and I stuck them down with Mod Podge. So put the Mod Podge down and then added the florals the way that I liked them. So I stuck them down, and then I did a very light coat over the top. Mostly I just wanted to make sure that I got them adhered at this point. And then I do the second one, and then I do a nice thick coat over the top once the first one had dried. And I do this on both of them. Now, this isn't shown, but I am going to go back over with some dishwasher safe Mod Podge or some outdoor Mod Podge, one of the two, so that these don't get ruined being in the weather or sweat from glasses. All right, on to DIY number 3 and our last DIY. For this, you will need a pumpkin frame, chicken wire, I just used some of the chicken wire, floral foam, pipe cleaners, spray paint, florals, rope, various ribbons, wire cutters, and pliers. For this project, I started with one of these pumpkin forms from the Dollar Tree and this wire netting. I believe I picked up at Walmart, or you could get a roll of chicken wire. This was wrapped as well as tied with wire, but we need wire for this anyway, so it worked out good. So the first thing I did was just take that long piece of wire and cut little pieces so that I could start wiring on the chicken wire. And I just took the top and took my piece of wire and twisted it, and then just twisted it around the form. I know it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing here, but I'm basically just, I pull it up together and then I twist it around itself and then twist it around the form. Started by doing this with my hands, but I do end up going to get the pliers because I kept poking myself, and this wire is a little bit harder to work with than you would think. And so I started with the top, and then I did the sides on this one piece here. I needed to clip it because I couldn't get it to fold around the form without it having ends. So I'm just using some wire cutters to clip it so that then I can continue wrapping it around and tying it in place. I didn't need to use a piece of the wire that I had cut when I was doing this because I just used the ones that I had just cut, if that makes sense. And then here I am finally getting smart and using the pliers. It really does help. It's easier to grab onto and pull tight. And so that is what I'm doing here, is pulling it tight and wrapping it around the form. And then at the end here, I am doing the same thing, just trimming off the end so that I can do another row. Now, this would be a much simpler and quicker project if you had a piece that was big enough to go all the way across. There was a lot of tying the pieces together. So then I get the third one done and I get it cut off. And then I start wiring them together, and I just wire them together in a couple of places just so that they'll hold there and not keep rolling up on me. Okay, once I had them wired together in a couple places in the middle just so that they would stay, I went back to the edges and clipped them so that I had something to work with there, and just wrapped the wire around the form, and I did it several times. I wanted to make sure that this was gonna stay. And then I do the same thing on the bottom, clip, wrap. I did run out of wire, but the pieces that I had clipped off, you just untwist and you've got yourself already cut pieces of wire. So that worked out good because there was a couple of spots on the bottom that it wasn't quite long enough. And so I did have to add a piece of wire there rather than just using the piece that I had clipped. And now I am wiring the other side. I am really very sorry, but I did end up going back and wiring every other one all the way across where they connected in the middle, and I don't have footage of that. And then once it was all wired and ready to go, I took it outside and I gave it a coat front and back of this spray paint, this metallic spray paint. It's sort of like a really dark steel gray, and one coat was sufficient. The frame was already black and this chicken wire was really easy to cover. I grabbed florals and cut them off of the pick. My intention was to use dried flowers, but I didn't leave myself enough time, so Dollar Tree we went. And then I took some floral foam, and with pipe cleaners, I am just attaching it to the back here so that I have somewhere to stick the flowers into. This could be glued or otherwise, but I'm not so sure. I like things to be able to change things up if I like. And then I just took and started pushing the flowers in. And I redid it about 150 times before I got it the way I liked it. But I started with the mums, and then I guess these are the sunflowers. And I really, really wanted there to be 5 of them, but there was only 4, so we make do. And then I add some fillers here. I had these yellow and red and some little cotton stems that I added in the gaps. And then I took some rope, unraveled it, and then I wrapped the stem of the pumpkin. And then I took several different burlap ribbons, as well as other ribbons and some twine. And I just cut a bunch of pieces and tied them all together and made a messy bow for the top. And I just tied it to the top of the frame where I wanted it at with the twine that I had tied it with. Look at the back, isn't it horrible? I may cover that at some point. And that is it for this one. Stay tuned to see it at the end. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. My initial plan was for this to be porch decor, and so I do have it sitting out on the porch right now. I went ahead and put this on my milk jug. I really like it. It is so bright with some really great fall colors. And then the coasters are sitting there as well. And I really love these too. They're really fun. I don't know that all of these end up going together as well as they did in my head. If you see back there, I was going to put some Spanish moss in there, and then I ended up forgetting. But that's how it looks with them both sitting there. And then I had hung this on the door, and I'm sorry, it's really hard to get good video or pictures of this with the reflections, but I think you can get a good idea of what it looks like. And it's also bright and colorful. Turns out I also really love it on my mantle, and I think these look cute in this box, and this really brightens up the mantle. So who knows, it may end up inside. I would love to know what you guys think. Do you have a favorite? Give me all your thoughts on this. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see today, I would love it if you help me grow my channel. The way you can do that is by liking, commenting, and subscribing and sharing with your friends. I am also on other forms of social media, Instagram, Facebook. I do have a blog that's horribly neglected, Pinterest, as well as TikTok. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video today. I hope you enjoy the playlist, and I hope that you will subscribe.